screen. But I maxed this out at 4 because, oh my God, it's green. This is good. Well, what we're doing is oh God, this is great. Okay, so hopefully it's gonna last.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is something kind of unusual. We're broadcasting live into virtual reality, and they're gonna be back with us. You know what I mean? So it's really cool. I know, right? What can we use to tighten this? Here, maybe just this. Carrie, this is Larry, our first speaker in the affirmative. Oh, did you meet him?
I know, no worries. Yeah, normally they don't have people come in the hall, so they're setting up around.
I know.
So give us a bit to get stuff set up.
Yeah, and then she's gonna she's gonna introduce you, so you'll let her know how you want that to happen. Oh my God, it's working, Carrie. Fucking God. Okay, so my camera looks super dirty, right? Is this working? Okay, let me just. Oh my gosh. Let's see.
It takes a lot of effort to put this together. So.
I know, man. It's we're just getting started. This is like our third one, I think, or maybe it's the fourth one now. And you know, it's hard. You know, I don't have a huge social network, so we're just trying. And you know, Carrie doesn't either. So it's like kind of we were trying to, you know, the different topics have different interests. Like some people, you know. But still, I think we can get, you know what I mean? It's like all this next month is like, you know, mind control and things like that. I mean, I think that, like, all this stuff we gotta think about. You know what I mean?
There's a lot going on. Part of my talk will be about why it's already happening. We gotta change this so much.
Right, that's the whole thing, right? All right, so that's working. Oh my God, thank God. Okay, so now I gotta get an alt space.
There's a microphone, right? Or should I just speak loudly?
There's gonna be alt.
Because I can speak loudly, but I.
No, don't worry. There's a microphone. There's gonna be a microphone up there. So let's see. So, we're gonna have audience mics as well. Let me get this in real quick.
It's up here, babe. Oh, it's over there.
you have some plastic? To-go cards?
I don't know, I'll try that. Yeah. Okay, so keep going. Like whoever, like a big speaker is. Oh, okay, very cool. Okay. You can. Yeah, let's do it.
Sure, cardboard up on these boxes?
Yeah, you can do that.
How was Paris, you guys?
What?
How was Paris?
Oh, that was great. It was cold, but boy, it's very
So cold.
Yeah, it was really good.
So what was it like?
HDMI, I don't. I can get another battery.
So Neil,
We want people to film the table.
second to just.
I made a playlist on my phone over here.
gonna juggle another
I know,
task.
I
And
know,
I'll be
I know.
back, okay?
So I was gonna have that question mark light up, but we don't have.
Yeah, the extension cord.
Yeah, I
It's
had
our
this
fourth
one.
debate, right?
Yes. Well, no, the first one I said was 0.
Oh.
If it'll help me be futurist, then yeah. I'll take that. Because I don't have to hold on to it.
And these clip.
Oh, they clip on.
Okay, yeah, like.
I'm going to take this off.
Yeah. Okay, this is good. What you have. Yeah.
That's not distracting.
Okay, so and then here's some. So have you gone up to San Francisco to see the test one?
I've worked with people in San Francisco who are organizing around basically. I haven't gone to meet any of the people who are involved in the trials, the pilots.
Get drink tickets. Let me ask them. Just
Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
oh, you don't drink that. Yeah.
I know I am.
Yeah. I don't know. You get so much
Oh, I'm naturally tired.
You are? I don't believe
I mean, after a long day, sure. Don't need any more help with that.
Yeah, do you want me to
Testing. Okay. Hi, everybody. A lot of you guys are here, and you don't entirely know what's going around you right now. But in less than a half hour, you're here for the 4th debate of Yale Futurist Union. We debate in this space on the last Sunday of every month. And today, our debate resolution is resolved. Universal basic income is the solution to automation. So every everybody who's in this hall right now. If you want to stay for the debate, you're more than welcome to, and we would love your participation. You'll hear a little bit more about what we do in actually under a half hour. So just if you don't want to be part of the debate, if you don't want to listen to other people's ideas or come up with questions of your own or present them or anything, you're welcome to move to the other room. But if you want to stay and hear some really cool things about universal basic income, we'd absolutely love for you to stay. But we would also like, if you're having other conversations that aren't going to be related to the debate, we would like respect for our speakers. So if you want to keep having your conversations, you might want to move over to the other part of the hall. Thanks. We'll get started at 6 o'clock.
How did we have music playing last time?
dropped your credit card. Larry, here's a necklace for you, man. Oh no, wait, this is for Larry. Hold on. You get one too.
Are you to your Hi, my name's Andy. I saw you here. So what are these little necklaces?
Want to just start anyway?
Testing. Okay, hi everybody. We're going to get started. Welcome to the fourth debate of Yield Futurist Union. So, there's a lot of people in the back. You guys are more than welcome to join us. If you want to come be part of the debate, come move forward. Come be a part of things here. We've got people who are excited to be talking about universal basic income and automation. And if you guys are interested in this at all, we definitely would love to have you be part of the debate. So, please come forward. We have communal tables up here. We've got crafts at tables and everything. And if you want to ask questions, microphones are toward the front too. So you might want to move up a little bit. Can you port it in? So, as I said, welcome. This is Yield Futurist Union. We debate here on the last Sunday of every month, and this is our fourth debate. Beside me here, I have our lovely chairwoman, Zenka. And I'm Carrie. I'm our floor leader for the debate. Thank you. For those of you who are new, and a lot of you are new, and we're super excited to have you guys here, we are loosely parliamentary style, which means I will refer to you as the gentle lady or the gentleman. And when you speak, we'll have one speaker come up in the affirmative, and then there'll be a speaker in the negative, and I'll call for speeches from the affirmative and from the negative throughout the debate. You get to ask questions of anybody, and we invite you to show your approval or disapproval of what they're saying at any given time by pounding on the table or hissing if you disagree. And we like you to get really rowdy and to really participate in these debates, so it's really exciting for us. Our chairwoman, Zenka, here is going to give you just a little bit of background about how this got started and what we're hoping to be doing in the future.
Yeah, so most of you know exponential change is upon us, and it's never too early to start talking about how all these technologies are going to affect the society. So the idea is to bring people in, people that know about technology, people that don't know about technology, to have a two-sided debate where we can really spend each month learning about another topic. And we have August here, who has, just so you know, the Yield Futurist Union is a duocracy, so anybody can join us. You can be part of it. You can fill in where you want. We want someone to help us organize the fashion section. We also want to help with promotion as well. So August came and he said, I want to help be your tech curator. So he is going to be curating next month, and he's got an incredible speaker lined up. And August, we wanted to invite you up, and you can tell us about next month.
All right, welcome. Hello, everybody. My name is August Bradley. I'm the host and producer of a talk show called Mind and Machine, Discussion on the Future. We interview people at the forefront of transformational technologies every week. It's at mindandmachine.io, and we come through the network of people and the wide range of interviews we do. Also working with organizations like AILA. I've just met a lot of fascinating people at the forefront of these various technologies. And so, working with Zenka and Carrie to set up a fascinating lineup of speakers across a wide range of technologies. Next month, we have a really interesting one. The premise is mind control is good for you. With a lot of headlines lately about Facebook and apps deliberately using biochemistry to manipulate users. We're going to dive into that. We're going to explore this. Our speaker is a neuroscientist from USC's Brain Architecture Center. His name is Ramsey Brown. He is fascinating. He's co-founder of Dopamine Labs, an organization that both helps app builders build addiction into it and helps people break addiction. So he is deep into this, and he comes from a neuroscience background. So he's going to lead the affirmative on on how mind control can be good for you. And of course, we'll have a lot of debate surrounding that topic. So that's next month at the Ye Old Futurist Union.
Great, thanks so much, August. So, and if anybody else would like to participate, there's a sign up there if you want to join the ranks of the group.
Okay, so we're waiting on, as you can see here, we're trying to broadcast this in alt space, and I know there's a little snafu with getting it set up in alt space. But Maggie, are we any closer to that?
I don't see it.
Not yet, okay. We're just gonna get going anyway, and if AltSpace joins us, we might be able to take some questions from AltSpace. But as I mentioned, today's debate is resolved. Universal basic income is the solution to automation. And this debate grew out of our very first debate, which was on artificial intelligence. And it was a common concern amongst the members who were here debating the rise of artificial intelligence that while everyone really, really, really wanted to see the age of the robots dawn, they also wanted to make sure that people weren't left starving in the streets from losing their jobs. We had a little quiz and some articles out here about the staggeringly high percentage of jobs that will be lost to automation over the years. You may have seen Richard Branson talking about that very idea just this week. And when he was saying that we're going to see nearly a third of jobs wiped out in this country by automation, and we're going to have to promote a new program to really tackle the poverty that will leave behind. So this topic is not really something people think about when they think about the future. It's a topic that has its roots in the 1500s, when St. Thomas More first started talking about basic income as a way to protect people from starving in the streets. It was a way to protect children from having to rob stores for their bread. And it's not something that obviously was picked up along the years, even though Thomas Paine also talked about a guaranteed basic income, which he called a citizen's dividend, to protect people from losing their land to the incoming property holders. It's also something that Nobel Prize-winning economist Milton Friedman talked about, where he deemed it the most efficient means of government redistribution. It's something that Richard Nixon, Abraham Lincoln, Charles Murray, Martin Luther King Jr., and even Bernie Sanders are talking about now. It is oddly something that has persisted for centuries that we haven't moved forward on. And especially today, I find it really appropriate to have this conversation where we've got something that's uniting Milton Friedman and Bernie Sanders and proving that the political spectrum is circular and not linear. So today, we're going to talk about not just the merits of the universal basic income, but this very idea that automation is something that we need to fear, something that's going to change the fundamental socioeconomic landscape of the United States. So our first speaker today in the affirmative is Larry Cohen. I'd like to bring him forward and introduce him as the gentleman from buildthefloor.org who is advocating for a universal basic income in the United States. Oh, and I did not gavel this meeting of Ye Old Futurist Union into session.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Larry, and I have a confession. As of next week, I will be without a job. The reason I will be without a job is because my employer decided 6 months early from the contract that I had signed, or had thought to have signed, that they will no longer be needing my services. Now the thing is, I don't fault my employer for this. I see their purpose as to make profits and provide goods and services, not to keep me with a well-paying job or to provide for my basic needs. However, the work that I used to do, I have actually helped automate out of existence, setting up systems so that other people wouldn't have to do the work that I did. And the rest of my work will be digitally distributed to other members of my team so that they will continue to do the work, a little bit of extra work, but no, without the need for me to be there. I'm one of the lucky ones. I had a family that had enough to cover my basic needs no matter what. I went to a good school. I didn't have to worry about crippling debt. I had all these advantages, and that gave me the opportunity to pursue an interest in a profession that allowed growth and development and the opportunity to get a well-paying job. This is the new normal. The new normal is where jobs are insecure, your labor is digitized and commoditized, and you can be without the ability to earn a living very quickly. Our technology is evolving at an incredible speed, and the statistics are showing that. This isn't something that's in the future, this is something that's happening now. You can look to the statistics that are being shared by researchers across the country and across the world. They're talking about, in the next decade or two, 47% of all labor today will be automated in some form. They're talking about how if you have a job that's $20 or under, in the next decade or two, that will be 80% of that will be automated away. Now here's the thing. This should be a good thing. Our machines, our technology, this ability to do all this labor without people needing to do it, this should be a wonderful thing for humanity. We should be more free to do the things that our machines can't do. We need to be the ones to create, to envision, to inspire, to do the things that are meaningful, the meaningful work that there's so much to do in this world. But we don't have a mechanism to set that up, to ensure that people's basic needs are covered, to allow our technology to do the labor that we no longer need to do, and to give us the opportunity to do the kind of work we really want to do. So that's why I'm here to talk about this idea, a universal basic income. An income floor provided to everyone unconditionally and individually so that everyone may be able to cover their most basic needs. At the poverty level we have today that we've set in the United States, that would come out to about $1,000 for an adult and about $350 per child. The thing that's so revolutionary about this idea is because it would imbue us with more freedom. It would give each one of us the opportunity and the freedom to say no. No to underpaid, unnecessary, unwanted labor. It gives each one of us the opportunity and the freedom to say yes to the meaningful work that each of us find and will create in our lives. It gives us the opportunity to choose the kinds of work that we would like to do, whether it's paid employment or unpaid. Whether it's caring for your kids, taking advantage of being home to build a community, or working or to start a new business, to pursue a creative vision, or to go into the arts and sciences, whatever it is, we need to allow more people the freedom and the flexibility to go pursue those dreams. I'm glad I'm getting some cheers already. So here's the thing. When we talk about creative destruction, we need to remember that when our jobs are being destroyed and our way of life is being destroyed, we need to make sure people have the income to become creative and to create the new, to what the future holds for all of us, to give us the opportunity to pursue these passions of ours. Now, I know a lot of people have common questions that come up. Well, how are we going to pay for it? The first question to really ask is, how much are we paying for the system that we have today? How much does it cost us to have the system where people are in poverty, where people's basic needs aren't being able to met, where nearly half of all Americans can't afford a $400 emergency expense out of their pocket? When people have their basic needs met, that's when they can create and provide the real value to the rest of society and to the world. With the basic income pilots that have been done around the world, when people have enough cash to cover their basic needs, we see that crime rates drop because people aren't needing to commit crimes of economic necessity. When people have their basic needs met, hospitalizations go down. Healthcare costs go down. When people have their basic needs met, we can save so much money on the system to try and keep the population healthy and happy. And we don't even begin to recognize the loss that we currently have, where people aren't able to pursue these passions and their contributions. We're not getting the true contributions from each other into our society. What are we losing out on to the children and the generations past who weren't able to contribute what was really passionate and meaningful to them. Another question about basic income may be, well, won't everyone just quit their job? Well, I don't know about you, but $12,000 a year is not enough for me to quit my job. Maybe for some of you. But again, the studies show that when people have their basic needs met, they are more likely to pursue a variety of forms of work. People don't quit their jobs, but they may work a few fewer hours. Mothers will spend more time taking care of their kids, as we found in Manitoba, Canada. People will find part-time work to better suit their lifestyle and to better find the time and the energy for the times that they want more income. And then for the things that they want to spend their time and energy on that don't earn a living, they find the time for that too. Another question might be, well, won't this cause inflation? Prices will go up and just balance out what the basic income will be. Well, we're not talking about creating new money out of nowhere. We're talking about mobilizing the resources that we currently have and the payments that we're already making into the system to support this terrible system that we have today. When we see the technological advances and the trillions of dollars of wealth that have been created and provided to our private companies, we forget that most of the technological underpinnings of our entire economy is based on the research and development that was done by the United States of America at the cost of the US taxpayer in the 50s and 60s. The transistor, the internet, all the base technology that we use today that is putting all of us at risk of loss of work is the very same thing that is providing this tremendous wealth and prosperity for a very few. We need to make sure that each of us receive an inheritance, an investment, based on the fact that we are all co-owners of this incredible technology, of our incredible resources, our incredible wealth, the wealth that the world has never seen in its history. I'll end with this. I see a future with a basic income. And I usually try to explain it to people as they're saying, think about what Star Trek is. That's the most optimistic version, right? A world where people don't have to worry about their basic needs, where people are truly free to pursue the kinds of meaningful work that they have in their lives. But I think a more recent example that might speak to more people is from the movie Black Panther. Which I'm assuming everybody has seen because who has not seen it, exactly. In Wakanda, the valuable resources and wealth comes from the ground. No one person owns that. It is a right and a piece of that wealth is being provided to all the citizens of Wakanda. No one is responsible for it being in the ground, but everyone receives a co-ownership of that. The basic needs of the citizens are covered. And are people doing nothing with that? No. You see them actively engaging in commerce. You see them actively participating in community, in ceremony. You see people striving to create new technologies and new visions for the future for their people. I think that is the kind of future that we can try to look forward to and build. That is what we should be building toward, a society where we can have our basic needs covered, our technology does the labor that none of us want to do, and we are more free to pursue the meaningful work that will transform our future into a better one. Thank you very much.
All right, I'd like to thank the gentleman from buildthefloor.org and also echo Wakanda forever. But would the gentleman yield to questions? Okay. Are there any questions for the gentleman? And we're going to have microphones that kind of circle the room here. If I could have Neil and August get to them. Any questions? Yes, the gentle lady here. Okay, the gentle lady's question is, how can we get the 1% to participate in this idea, and should they be taxed the same or more as anybody else?
So currently, there are members of the 1% that recognize the importance of a basic income. What? Yeah. So, for example, Richard Branson, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, many of the titans, and secretly Jeff Bezos, who hasn't come out publicly, but it's been talked about privately. So there are these titans of tech, these people who have immense wealthy empires, who recognize that their goods and services, the products that they're producing, take a fewer and fewer amount of people. And they understand how economics work. They need people to purchase their goods and services for them to stay in business. Right now, they have less need for fewer and fewer people. How are people going to participate in our economy and to purchase those goods and services and keep the money circulating and keep the economy flowing if no one has any income? And if income is stripped away from millions and millions of Americans. So they recognize that they are partially, not to blame for this, but connected to this. And that their systems that they're creating are helping cause this. And there's a growing concern that they need to help address this. So between the recognition of technological dividend, the amounts that's coming from the technology that we have helped pay for in the first place, we will be able to participate in the goods and services of our economy and allow their businesses to continue growing.
Related to that, does the gentleman think more appropriately? I know that there's been a number of Silicon Valley investors have been saying we should be the ones to fund a universal basic income because we are the ones who are destroying the ordinary American way of life, especially with the number of Okay, my microphone just went out. Especially with the number of Americans who are in, say, middle America, who are going to be the ones whose livelihoods are destroyed by the advances coming out of Silicon Valley. Should this not be a program that they, the destroyers of American life, have to pay for?
I certainly think that there are corporations and very wealthy individuals in the 1% that can help contribute to this cost, right? Because this will cost something. This is not something that will come for free. Although, if you talk to some people in the financial world, we have actually created trillions of dollars out of thin air and thrown it to our banks, and there has been virtually no inflation at all. So you can make the argument we could create out of thin air and just make sure the people get it, and provide that the people are the ones to receive it, and not just the big banks who continue to give out bonuses. So yes, I believe that there will be more need for those who make the most and have prospered the greatest amount from their technological advances and who've been able to pass their wealth down without any need to work for it whatsoever, to help pay into the system to help provide a basic income for everybody. But here's the thing. The most important thing about a basic income is that it's a universal basic income. All of these people should also be receiving a basic income. They'll be paying more into the system than they will be getting out of it. But if they were to lose everything tomorrow, they too would have this floor to be able to stand on so that they can rebuild their life and build and do meaningful work. They're people too.
All right, are there any other questions for the gentleman from Build the Floor? Oh, yes, the gentleman here.
Yeah, maybe I should think this through a little bit more.
No, don't, just go for it.
Start speaking. You talked about some of the practical concerns, but I think you skipped a step when you didn't talk about the philosophical foundation. If you talk about establishing a universal basic income, are you saying that we acknowledge that we have a duty to everybody else to make sure that they survive and thrive? Because right now, I think we don't have that duty. You might feel like we do, but formally we don't. Are you ready to make that switch? And if you are, how far does it go? Suppose your $1,000 a month doesn't do it. Suppose there's still discontent and disruption because it's not enough.
So to answer the first part, I think that today we need to recognize the level of prosperity and wealth that we have. Mm-hmm. And that we have the means and the technology to ensure, we have no excuses to not make sure that people can cover the most basic needs as a starting point. We just have no reason not to, except our own.
Wait, is that a feeling, or is that something that you can show?
Well, I mean, I hopefully have explained that based on how much we spend on the system we have, how much it would cost to do a basic income, how much, and granted, a basic income, like you said, may not solve everything. $12,000 a year is not going to get rid of many of the problems that we still face today. Massive income inequality, discrimination, gender inequality, so many things still need to be tackled. But those challenges become much easier to face and to tackle and to deal with when people have their basic needs met. We can get more people to take part in our democracy, to share their voices, and help change minds and hearts through their stories and the work that they do, because they'll be more able to do it than they are today. And I think that is just as an important point, that even though basic income doesn't solve all problems, not nearly all problems, it helps allow us to address the problems that remain that much better.
Okay, so I'm going to give a hypothetical example of somebody who loves OxyContin and just takes tons of OxyContin and spends, I don't know, $2,000 a month, $5,000 a month on it. Where do you see that person fitting in?
I would actually go to that person and talk to them and say, why are you in this position? What is keeping you in this position? I think we take a step back when we view people who are doing things that we disagree with and don't ask the fundamental question, what is driving this behavior? Why are they doing things to themselves that seem harmful and are trying to, would seem to be a substitute for something that's missing in their life? What is this self-medication that they are trying to dull their feelings and their issues that they're facing? What are they trying to not deal with? I think a major challenge for many people who are addicted, it's not that it's just the addiction itself, but it's the fact that they feel like society has left them behind, that they have no opportunities, they have no hope, that they don't have a way to get out of the situation they're in.
I guess my comment was a clumsy way of asking. I give a specific example or hypothetical example, but the clumsy way of asking is how much disorder are you willing to allow or accept in your vision of a society where people's needs are met? How much suffering are you willing to allow or accept? I mean, did you have the idea that there won't be any because of the way you've done it?
I'd like to remind the gentleman that questions can be speeches.
Oh, I don't have a speech.
Okay.
I just have.
But I think you might have a speech. And for the future, I'll take one follow-up question, but I don't want to allow, at the mic, like a point, counterpoint like that. I'd also like to say, on point of personal privilege, there are 89 federally funded welfare programs currently active in the United States. So we do have a policy in the United States of making sure that basic needs are met. 89 federally funded welfare programs in the United States, and that's not mentioning state and local assistance.
We try to help, and I'm glad that we do. But
yes,
if somebody...
and I will hand the mic over to address your other question.
Wait, should I answer the question? Maybe just better to answer the question. Okay.
The gentle lady here.
Amy, you and I can talk afterwards.
Yeah,
Keep going.
everybody's going to be invited to go up and give a speech, so that's what she means. If you have a really long question that you want to turn into a speech, you'll be allowed to go up after the speaker negative comes up. You'll get a chance.
And even if you only have questions, to come up here and give your questions to show that you are not satisfied by the resolution or any answer is being given is a speech too. A speech can be just questions. You don't have to have the answers. I'd encourage the gentleman to maybe come up after we move through the docket. But now moving on to the gentle lady here.
Hi. Mine is kind of an argument with you and like a support with you, so I don't know what category that falls under, but I was gonna say, like, if you're thinking about people that are addicted to drugs and have these problems, a lot of the time it's because they're in an environment where they actually have to sell drugs to survive because they don't have a basic need. They're not privileged and they're not growing up in neighborhoods where they're supported by their parents all the time. So it's like, half the reason why we have such a drug issue or people that are taking advantage of our system is because they haven't grown up privileged. Our society is made for privileged people, and it's wow. Keep going. I just feel this way that if we're not grown up in the right environment, then it's harder for other people. So if we have this basic need, then there is going to be room for passion and for arts, which are things that are really not supported by our government all of the time. So
Yes.
yeah, I really support this, and I'm saying yes.
Thank you. I'm in support of your support. Yeah. I mean, just to quickly build on that, you know, the people who will be disproportionately impacted in a positive way with a basic income, with the universal basic income, are those who've been disproportionately impacted negatively by the policies that we've created, by the history of how we treat certain groups of people. When everyone has this floor, we can help address some of the systemic issues that have plagued our country and the world for so long. And again, it's not going to solve all of them, but will help make those challenges easier to solve.
Thank you. We have a question from the gentle lady here.
Hi, you're doing great. So I'm interested in UBI as a form of unfucking ourselves from capitalism. And do you see this as a stepping stone to an alternative economic model from capitalism, or is it an end to a means? Does rethinking human needs stop with universal basic income?
I do hope and envision that a UBI is a stepping stone to a future that doesn't need the sort of form of capitalism that we have today. You know, we can look toward a future where we have a world of abundance and we can create a world with those constraints, which are really little constraints whatsoever. But we need to have a step to get there. And to get there, you know, I think a universal basic income is one part of that foundation. So, agree.
Thanks.
All right, is there a penultimate question for the gentleman?
What?
Penultimate, second to last. Okay. The gentle lady in red.
Gentle lady, thank you. Maybe not very gentle. I don't want to sound like the jerk. I'm just going to preface
Bring it on.
that way. Because I'm totally like a bleeding heart liberal as well. But it's, you know, I'm also a single mother, and I live in West Los Angeles, which $1,000 a month and $300 or $350 a month for my child would not sustain us. And my child is healthy, and so am I, luckily. So, and it's not that it's something that you could live off, but even $1,000, $1,300 a month is not that much like discretionary income for me to be able to like, you know, start, you know, a crafting studio or whatever kind of like artsy-fartsy thing I want to do. So it just and you know, there is a lot like within our capitalist system. There's, you know, a ton of greed, obviously, is where it all kind of seems to stem from, like greed and like power hungry, which leaves, you know, people who aren't necessarily as intelligent or privileged to be able to like step up and like manage their money and their life and their own basic needs, right? So like, and then also if you're thinking, you know, maybe there are people in, you know, West LA, let's just say, or even East LA, it's like $1,000, like, it all depends on like where do you live, right? Like where do you live? What are the, you know, what's the gas price in your area? Like that fluctuates. That's like a huge difference. If you're in Texas or if you're in Los Angeles, it's like, it could be dollars, right? And then that's like a big, big difference. So I appreciate the thought, and I agree that like there should be like a redistribution of this massive inequality of wealth. I just don't know. And unfortunately, I don't believe that those who have it are willing to share it. And you know, they have more than they could ever do with it, really. So it's just really like sad and disgusting. But, you know, it's kind of like where we are, so what do we do?
First, on point of personal privilege, the body may not know that the two founders of this union are artsy-fartsy people who met in a pottery studio. So we strongly encourage all members to become artsy-fartsy people as well. Moving on.
So I agree. $1,000 a month is not enough for anyone to stop working entirely, especially for a single mom or for a mother who has a child who, you know, is trying to make ends meet. I do believe, though, it does open the opportunity for more decisions and more freedom to make decisions. So if you're in the middle of the country where things are cheaper, $1,000 does go a long way. If you're in LA, it doesn't go as far, but it definitely helps. It gives people a little bit more freedom, a little more wiggle room to decide, okay, do I, you know, live with other people? Do I share an apartment or house? Do I move outside the city? Do I work a day less than I used to? Do I have the flexibility to go after work that is more suited for what I'd like to go do because I know I won't starve at the end of the day? Can I go try new things and at least spend some of my time and energy toward working toward those other things? So I agree. It's not going to solve the systemic problems, but again, it is it's a starting point to ensuring that everyone has more freedom and opportunity than before. And I would hope that $1,000 for you would be helpful in helping make decisions that would be best for you and your child. And going forward would always be there for you to be able to depend on so that you could build long-term decisions that's the best for you and your family.
Great. And is there a final question for the gentleman? Oh, all right. I have a follow-up question from our first gentlelady.
Thank you. So, I don't know how many of you have ever filed for unemployment, but I have because I'm an actress. And they have certain regulations and evaluations where if you make a mistake where you're reporting your income, then they will call you and they will ask you why you made this mistake. And I'm wondering if you think that would be invasive to apply this to your idea. Like, you know, okay, everybody gets 1,000, right? But you still have to go out there and get it. And then maybe have like an evaluation every 2 weeks, like what was your income from the job that or career that you decided to go for? You know, prove that you're actually trying to pull yourself up in society versus just mooching off the rest of us to satisfy the Ayn Randists in the room. I'm joking. Do you think that would be invasive, or do you think it should just apply? You're born, you get $1,000 or $350, whatever it was.
$1,000 when you're an adult and $350 for your family when you're a child, per month. I believe that would be invasive. I think that would be a condition. I think that would be somebody somewhere deciding what you're doing is or is not worthy of this basic income, which is fundamentally at odds with the whole concept. Because who is to tell you whether the work that you're doing, the work that you find meaningful and that you want to spend your time, your energy, and your life on is worthy or not? There are so many things that some people want to do with their lives. They should be able to go pursue them. You know, an idea or a business is seen as crazy until it happens. You talk to most startup founders and people were like, these guys are nuts, this idea will never work, why are they even bothering, they should just get a regular job, and then they help change the world. We see and hear that story all the time, but only of those who somehow were able to succeed despite all of these barriers. We're missing out on the stories of all the people who didn't have that opportunity. So the idea that someone can be sitting somewhere and telling you whether or not what you're doing is valuable with your time and energy, I fundamentally disagree with.
So maybe I said that a little wrong. So if you make a mistake reporting your income, like if they see like some type of discrepancy, like if you said, okay, I made $50 this week and that's why I need the rest of the, you know, whatever. So yeah, it's not like judging you, like, no, that's not worth filling out for.
So the idea with basic income is that you would receive it no matter what. So any money you earn on top of that is just subject to regular taxation, whatever the system is that we have, but you can never go below that amount. So you don't need a report to anybody other than what you would normally pay taxes on in the current system. So it's sort of like
So no.
something you wouldn't have to worry about. It wouldn't exist.
Okay, cool.
Great. And with that, I would like to thank the gentleman from Build the Floor for his maiden speech on the floor of the Old Futures Union. And give him our limited edition medallion that all speakers who make their maiden speech on the floor of the Old Futures Union will get today as well. So thank you. All right. For our first speech in the negative, I have the gentleman from the Martian Discotheque.
Hello, yes, I'm from Mars. So I'm in the villainous position of speaking against basic income tonight. But I want to make two main points to set the tone. The first is against basic income as a theory of distribution, and the second is addressing whether basic income is the first step, or even could be a first step. So first, as a theory of distribution. So we assume that basic income is taking these resources that we share and spreading it to everybody equally. Let's say we have 100 people in this room, rounding. And let's say we constitute a society. And we have X amount of discretionary spending available to help those in need. Let's say that 10 of you are in dire need. You have medical problems. You are disabled. You are part of a marginalized minority that is part of intergenerational poverty. If we take that X amount of resources and distribute it evenly across everybody, we are essentially taking that, a certain percentage, from those people who are in the most need. And we are essentially living out a fantasy of destroying bureaucracy as a way of giving to those people, but really, mathematically, we're taking away from them. That's attacking it as a theory of distribution. The second is a larger question about systems. And for that, I'm gonna need to consult my little speech writing. All right. The basic pitch is, the brokenness of capitalism overrides the effectiveness of basic income. As long as the essential power dynamic of capital versus labor is preserved, basic income only recreates under Amazon and Google the same company-town system that exists in a coal mining town. Even if we assume dangerously that we would even be able to levy a tax on such behemoths of automated profit, the end result is that they would always have the greater influence on government, and therefore the greatest influence on the level of basic income given, even to an eventual point of being able to cut it off or change it at will. Any discussion of basic income's effectiveness or implementation without addressing this foundational power dynamic means that the system is doomed to fail. There is a very good reason that countries like Finland and Iceland are leading the way in basic income experiments, because they need to. They have already addressed the underlying problem of where power goes, or begun to, which is a precursor to the issue of where money goes. Price controls, rent controls, and measures to stop the wild inflation that is speculated by many to occur as a result of basic income are all symptoms of a society where seeking profit is still woven into the fabric of the economic system. I propose a solution more like the Norwegian system, where oil is seen as a shared communal good instead of something that is owned by one person or one company. If we look at the shared ownership of automated technology as something that scientists all over the world, not just some scientists or one man like Mark Zuckerberg or even Elon Musk, has just discovered, Standard Oil Company got to the oil first, but they didn't invent the oil. It was there. And if we look at ideas, and technology is the same sort of thing, we understand that Isaac Newton didn't discover, he discovered gravity, he didn't invent it. And we are discovering automation, we didn't invent it. And so we can look at it as something that we all share and are all affected by. And we should redistribute the dividends of that rather than just trying to all live under Amazon. All right.
All right, questions for the gentleman. I have one first. Does the gentleman believe believe that the Saudi Arabian welfare state is an ideal?
No.
For a point of clarification, what distinguishes the Saudi Arabian welfare state from the Norwegian welfare state?
I prepared only what I just read. I learned about this a week ago. So.
Okay, moving forward. Any questions for the gentleman? I see the gentle lady here.
So it does make sense that we would share ownership of a natural resource like oil or whatever. You know, we all live on the same land. It should have belonged to all of us. But the idea of sharing the ownership of an idea, I mean, can you...
It's pretty radical.
Yeah, like if we'd invented Facebook, we would have invented Facebook, you know what I mean? Like, did we? No, we didn't. Like, that belongs to Zuckerberg. So how does this
But does this thing that we've all been using since we were 18 belong to one man?
Fair point, fair point. So at what point does his original idea then become public property?
That's a very good question.
And how do we decide what idea deserves a copyright and which idea is going to be used for profit for the entire nation?
It's a very good question. Like,
okay.
The details of this are unknown.
On personal privilege, the gentle lady may not know, based on, I think most people only have seen like The Social Network and surmise some of this, but Facebook was actually not an original idea, but was rooted in a shared Facebook between Yale and Harvard. So my husband and I were... No, yeah, so there's a validity to the question, and there was a lot of hubbub at Yale over whether a Harvard dropout could take full credit for something that was worked on by also a lot of Yaleys as well. So a question there.
I really only had a speech, so I can't really answer questions. The answer to all of these questions will be, I don't know, and maybe. So if anybody else wants to get up and give speeches, I think that's what's next for me.
All right, if the gentleman is yielding the floor to questions, please remain for a second. I'd like to thank the gentleman from the Martian Discotheque for his maiden speech on the floor of Yield Futures Union. And hand him a hand medallion. Before you get your medallion.
Medallion, yes, medallion.
The medallion's super cool, people. You want to get up here for that. All right. Do I have a speech in the affirmative? We're moving off the docket now for the first time, and we're going straight into audience speeches. Is there a speech in the affirmative of this resolution, meaning you support the idea that universal basic income is the solution to automation? Okay, our chairwoman Zenka.
Are we supposed to go in order? I can do an affirmative. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just put on my speech.
All right, the gentle lady is coming forward to give a speech in the affirmative. Which is not her maiden speech. This is her second speech, I believe, on the floor of Yield Futurist Union. Must be properly attired to give her speech. All right, alt timeline Zenka is here.
I'd like us to consider art and consider how we thrive with creative potential. And although stress can sometimes result in some really inspiring art, for most people, true creative power only really comes from a sense of security, a sense of peace. All right. Usually, if you look at the hierarchical kind of distribution of creative thought, usually your basic needs do have to be met. So as a creative and an artist, I don't foresee a world in which we're giving people who are constantly struggling below the poverty line to really achieve as much artistic potential, technological development as they could if their basic needs were being taken care of. Now, of course, it's not a perfect system. We are gonna have to keep, rewriting this over and over and over again. But it's a start, and so many people are going to lose their jobs in the next decade that are going to have no other skills that are applicable and have no other options, that I think maybe not view it as the perfect solution, but view it as the first solution. And I think we have to start somewhere. So I'm a huge proponent of universal basic income because we have to try it and get the kinks out. And nothing here right now is working. And again, I mean, I think the gentleman from the Martian discotheque was basically arguing for communism or socialism, which is great, except I don't see, I think that getting people basic income checks is a much easier step than switching America over to a communist state. It's just more likely. So practicality and creativity are the reasons why I support it as is.
The gentle lady yield to questions. Okay. So the resolution is that resolved universal basic income is the solution to automation, but it sounds like the gentle lady is saying universal basic income is the solution to art, and I am extremely confused because I think also Adele would strongly disagree because you know, she believes that her art does come from suffering and torment, and that great art, you know, does come from that. And I'm a Catholic, and you know, suffering is kind of like part of our ethos. So this idea that people need to be in a balanced state to produce good art and universal basic income is a primer for great art is like kind of out there, and I'd like the gentle lady to maybe explain a little bit.
Just because I think that with automation, it gives us the opportunity to not have to do art in spite of our circumstances, but feel protected enough to be able to strive even further. I promise you, if you talk to any artist and they said if you had the ability to have your basic needs met while you're achieving art, before they've actually achieved it, they would probably say that they would want their needs met. Yes, we can achieve art via struggling, but no one should really have to, especially if we're going to form this new society where so many of our needs are going to be met through automation. This is the time for our artistic renaissance, as I see it. And again, ask any artist, like, would you rather be suffering and barely able to make rent? Or would you rather just ask any artist, and I think we should believe them. Not a theoretical debate about how suffering makes you better at things. That is very Catholic, and I'm a Jew, and we really like ease and comfort. I don't know. I mean, again, suffering, like, we're complaining. I mean, it's like a complaining kind of religion, but not necessarily a suffering religion. But yes, I think complaining leads to better art. So actually, that is a good argument. You know, I didn't really think about that. That's unfortunate. Yes.
As a fellow Jew, I'd like to
on
this quest about complaining. But
so
Jewish thing,
okay,
Jewish thing, yes. But to support your point and to speak to the whole suffering to get good art, let's talk about two types of suffering. So, not to get very serious, but there's a gentleman who was in the Holocaust. His name was Viktor Frankl, and he became a psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust and went on to write many books and really reach people by talking about a concept, two things, unnecessary suffering and necessary suffering. And I think we need to distinguish those two things. There is necessary suffering, which all of us will go through, which is heartbreak and teenage angst and pimples and growth, the hormones of being, a teenager and growing up and, going through society and getting turned down from opportunities and all those factors. Those are all necessary suffering. We will all go through those things. That's kind of the way human society can go. But there is unnecessary suffering. The Holocaust is the extreme version, but poverty and the income inequality and the struggles of people to survive, that is unnecessary. That is unnecessary suffering. I don't believe that adds anything to people's lives. It just takes it away and prevents them from being able to live a truly meaningful life.
Yeah, I agree. Also, you know what I want to see? I want to see some raw data where we look at, the amount of artists, the greatest artists in history, which is really hard to validate, and were most of them living in a state of constant suffering, or were most of their needs being met? And I don't have the answer to that, but I think that's an interesting model to see. All I know is the great philosophers of our time were living pretty cushy lives. They're all like white dudes who had all their needs being met, and that they could just think about things before they died at 55 of gout or something. It was usually gout or scurvy. I mean, they had horrible diets, but that's besides the point. I think what we need to remember is that we gotta try something. And again, here's what I want: someone come up with an alternative to a universal basic income. That's what I want. I'm done.
All right. The gentle lady is yielding the floor, and she is thanked for her second speech on the floor of your future student. Do I have a speech in the negative from our chairwoman, Zenka? Please welcome for her third speech on the floor of Yield Futures Union.
Okay, cool. And we've got another speaker, Leanne from West LA, that's also in the negative. So, I mean, I just want to ask you, do we think that welfare is working for people right now? Is this the society that we want to have, where you have a bunch of people on welfare and it's not working for them? It's not working for them. And we're about to enter into the future where we're going to have new tools and new systems and new things. And this is the best idea that we can come up with. A government-centered, centralized system that is like welfare 2.0. It's like, no, we have to get more creative than this. There has to be a system where we can work with private industry, a government, and everyday people to create a new way of doing things, a new economy. We've got to think outside of the system. We can think in the system. We're entering a stage where, computers and technology can revolutionize healthcare. It can put people in the center of their care. How can everyday people bridge the ties themselves with their own healthcare? How can we bridge ties with education? If schools aren't working anymore, we're going to have to get together and create new ideas. So in other words, one of the ideas that occurred to me, one of the things with crypto that has a promise is taking our current monetary system and kind of throwing it away a little bit. Like, everyday people have to get together. We have to create new money. We have to create new bartering systems. We have to create new trading systems. You know what I mean? Because when we reduce our monetary needs, I lived in Argentina for many, many years. And when their economy collapsed, they kept going. They bartered things, they traded things, they supported things, they built communities. So what about community building that we're not doing, and how can we do that? And how can a small number of people have a huge effect on the world using computers to leverage those efficiencies? Computers are here to leverage things and do things that we couldn't do before. And some of those are filling these gaps of the basic needs that we're gonna need, so we're reducing the cost. I hope that we can encourage some of these multi-millionaires. So if there's this 1%, can't we engage them interestingly in this conversation by letting them bet on passion pools where people decide, all right, my passion is teaching, or my passion is walking dogs, or my passion is therapy, or my passion is this. People apply for enough salary, and they go into pools. They get funded by billionaires that then turn into businesses eventually. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the solution is, but I think that UBI is too close to the system that we have, and it's going to fall short of the creativity and the massive change that we want to see in the world, where we're not dependent on a centralized government for anything. They're not going to help us. They didn't help us before. They didn't help us before. They didn't help us before.
All right, are there any questions for the gentle lady? Oh, sure. Sorry about the one microphone.
Hi, Zenka, it's okay. Okay, so in saying that, do you mean that we form communities with certain types of people that specialize in certain things and then ask for funding from billionaires? I'm just trying to simplify it.
Yeah, so they give these people enough salary for 2 years, and then in the next 2 years, those people figure out how to self-fund themselves, like move into an auto funding. But we need to have a job system where you work 2 days in doing one thing, and 1 day doing another thing, and 1 day doing another thing, and the computer builds your entire security package so you can do that. Right now it's a one-job system. That's not working for people. So we really need to rethink things. And there needs to be a system where people can work. Like right now, people that are paying for jobs, they want you to come 5 days a week or more. Like we need more part-time parches, computer balancing systems so that, and everybody should, I mean the government should fund this, and so should private businesses. When they buy that automated machine, there should be something in place that we're standing there asking them for. You know what I mean? Truck drivers should be able to buy these trucks that are automated. They should be, someone should finance them for them, right? You know what I mean? Like, so we need to look out for ourselves because, yeah, you know, and engage. It's not us against them. Like, as Larry said, it's like, you know, everything's going to affect everybody else. So we want to make sure that we go to the governments and the wealthy people and the businesses and all get together and say, what can we do? Like, how can we get creative and solve this?
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really have a speech or if it's just, you know.
Come up here. Come up here.
Do I really have to?
Yes, questions can be speeches, and we would love for a maiden speech. But if this is a speech in the negative, I'm going to wait for a moment to see if we have a speech in the affirmative first. So, we don't know if this is a speech in the negative or affirmative, so we can explore that idea. So first of all, with that, our chairwoman of Yield Futures Union is Zenka. And for a maiden speech on the floor of Yield Futures Union, I have the gentle lady in red.
You can stay. So, how about, like, as something along the lines of what you were saying, for every job that's taken away by automation, those who create the automation have to supplement that person's livelihood so that that person can continue to, like, innovate into some other kind of fruitful existence, right? And then once they've sustained something new, then, you know, maybe it like tapers down or whatever, you know? But then, like you were saying about welfare, it's not necessarily easy to get welfare, and you pretty much almost have to be like basically homeless, it seems. Because when I was like first getting divorced and had like not really a means of income, it was like I was, you know, below the poverty line, but there was no welfare like available. So it was like you pretty much have to be homeless if you're gonna get anything. And obviously with a, you know, 2.5-year-old child, you can't be homeless. Some people are, but I was like, this is not gonna happen for me. So, you know, there's a lot. It's like easy to say, oh yeah, welfare, and people are like, you know, getting their nails done and getting high or whatever while they're on welfare. But it's like a lot of people also need basics that they don't get and they don't qualify. So there's so much, and I don't know. I mean,
one of the things that we're missing in society is a bigger safety net program for these life experiences that happen to people, whether it's medical bills or a divorce or something unexpected, where you're suddenly out of a job because you can't work because you're injured or whatever it is. We need a huge safety net program. You know what I mean? And I think that welfare has to continue, obviously. I mean, we have to take care of people, but we also, like, if you're losing your job, right, where, you know, there should be a free university where you can go to, and if there's 50 jobs and they're gonna cut 20, they should require that all 50 people keep their jobs for 2 years and work 4 days, and then the single day that they're off, you know, because they're readjusting, provide either space, like Larry said, to find what you want to do, or give people a chance to go to a free university online that has everything that they would have, you know what I mean? Like, we can educate people low cost today using computers. I mean, you've got master classes, you've got MIT, you've got, you know what I mean? You've got websites that are doing that. I think we need to do more of those things to create all of these safety nets that we're going to need.
Okay, for the purpose of parliamentary procedure, can the gentle lady make that a question?
Well, yeah. I mean, okay. Well, yeah. So, well, I don't know. But
All of that question mark. Can the gentle lady address that as in the form of a question? Yeah. So, assuming that was a question, do concepts like free education, the other ideas that the gentle lady posited, does that meet the gentle lady's structure for some sort of system of assistance that maybe is a little bit more accessible?
Yeah, but I think it doesn't only just apply to adults seeking education. Like, preschool is, an average of $1,200 a month. So how are people able to, when your child is young, you either stay home and they don't get educated and socialize with other children because you can't afford it, or it's less cost effective for you, or you are working to put them in school and basically everything you make is going towards the school. So it's, there's so many things. The bottom line is that the minimum wage has not kept up since like 1975 or 76, something like this, right? So really the minimum wage for people to be able to sustain a livable amount and not have to get $1,000, which actually wouldn't even be close to what the minimum wage right now should probably be like $22, $25 an hour if it was going to stay with everything else that's inflated, right? So I don't even know what it is right now, 10, 15, and it's like heading towards 17 or something. But it's not that, even that in itself is not livable. You cannot get an apartment in Los Angeles at $15 an hour. So that's, it doesn't work. Our whole system is basically run by corporations who want to make, try to stay within, it's a very gnarly term, but like an economic slavery almost for people who, because slavery, all right, slavery is like the worst thing pretty much that's happened in this country, to be forcing people to work and beating the shit out of them in order for them to stay alive, right? And that whole Indian genocide. So yeah, there's a bunch of horrible stuff that's happened in America, but it has continued in the way that people aren't able to sustain a standard of living that's acceptable in order to have the basic foundation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs of food, shelter, basic health, I guess probably, but it's just things are not livable, and it's really sad that a lot of people are stuck because they either can't afford education because it's getting outpriced to where you can't go. So they're being kind of forced to live in poverty in order to sustain life. And it's barely scraping by. I don't know if this is a question or whatever. I don't know how things will ever change. It's really, I'm hopeful. I really hope that things will change, but I feel that the amount of greed and excess and oblivion to ever having had to live on a substandard level from those at the top is only gonna continue, and we're just gonna be talking about it for a long time. I hope not, but we'll see.
All right, and I'd like to thank the gentle lady very much for her maiden speech on the floor of Yield Futures Union. Are there any speeches in the affirmative for the body? We have heard a great deal of negative. Yes, a speech in the affirmative from the gentle lady here. A maiden speech in the affirmative at that.
So mine is not so much a speech as a series of anecdotes. Can you hear me? I should hold it closer to my mouth. I'm not an economist, nor am I a political scientist. I'm a writer. But we've been speaking a lot in high theoretical ideas tonight. And I have some very specific and very concrete examples of how universal basic income could actually change people's lives. So my mom, as a single mom, I'm from the South, Appalachia South, like rural South. And so we were very poor, and she is a brilliant woman who now later in life has had the ability to go back to school, graduate school, to do writing of her own, to really come into her own. But she had to wait until after I graduated and moved out and started making my own money to be able to do that. Before that, she couldn't do anything other than work and worry. So $1,300 a month, sure, not a lot for West LA or even Pasadena, right? Especially Pasadena. But in Hendersonville, North Carolina, in the mid-90s, that would have changed my mother's life, and consequently, my life. Also, just from a health side, which is something we haven't really discussed much, if she didn't have to worry so much about where money was coming from, if she was able to invest in better food and have a better diet, she wouldn't have half of the health issues that she has today, which are now costing the government money because they have to help her pay for that. That's anecdote number one. And there are other aspects to that, but I want to get to the others. Second, wait, let me think about it. Okay, so my cousin, Craig, the South. He didn't go to college. His girlfriend got pregnant right out of high school. They were both 18 when they got married and had a baby. He went to work at a factory because that's what you do in the South. You go to work when you have a baby. He got injured on the job at 19 years old. He hurt his back, and it was very serious. He had to go to the hospital. The doctor put him on pain medication, very strong pain medication, Oxy, in fact. And he continued to take it, and he went back to work. That was the only way that he could get back to work and continue paying bills. His wife worked. They both had a job, but they also had a toddler. And as we've already discussed, preschool is very expensive. And so the only way he could keep making money was to keep taking this medication. Well, of course, you can only have access to that medication for so long. And then you have to seek out heroin or methamphetamines or literally anything else you can get your hands on. If he'd had $1,300 extra a month, he could have spent maybe 2 months really recovering from his injury and then actually just going back to work and not developing an addiction. But as it is, he's currently addicted to opioids. So, and I was anecdote number 2. Now, number 3, it was a good one. That was my cousin. He was like, that sucked. All right, well, I'll just tell you from my own life, my personal life. I'm a writer, right? I have a master's degree in writing. It doesn't mean anything. And I have a couple of novels up my sleeve that I've been working on. I think they're going to be important or cool. Honestly, I just would love to finish them, but I can't, because I'm constantly trying to make money with my writing, constantly trying to pay my bills. And if I had $1,300 extra a month, no, it's not going to pay my rent. No, it's not even probably going to cover my groceries for very long. But it would allow me to have a little extra time. I could take one less freelance job, and I could work on my novel, right? That's very real. One less freelance job, and I could work on my personal writing, and maybe do something cool. Maybe, help the world in some way. There you go. That's my answer.
Well, the gentle lady yielded questions. Okay. So, as I mentioned before, there are 89 federally funded welfare problems currently in place in this country. The cost to run these programs is excessive. This is another sign of the federal largesse. Does the gentle lady believe, based on her anecdotes, that an unrestricted transfer of funds to a person's account in the form of universal basic income would allow all of the people she's mentioned to better meet their needs than the government prioritizing what those needs needing to be met were?
Absolutely, 100% yes. Welfare is obviously problematic. There are so many issues related to welfare. I think the biggest one is that it's called welfare, and that we have a stigma placed on welfare. My cousin, currently addicted to opioids, would die before he went on welfare because he is not educated and he believes that welfare is just for a certain kind of people. So if he was able to just get a check every month when he turned 18, he started getting his universal basic income, and there was no stigma. He turned 18, he graduated from high school. Congratulations, here's what you get for being a citizen of the United States of America, $1,300 a month in your bank account. There's no stigma. It's just that he is able to receive this money, this basic income, and then he would use that, right, to better his life.
For a follow-up question, what would the gentle lady think to those, the large number, the majority of policymakers in this country who believe that unrestricted funds would have just encouraged her cousin to buy more opioids, heroin, whatever, to fuel his addiction rather than spending it on the things that they deemed necessary for his livelihood?
It's very hard to answer this question without saying lots of curse words and insulting said people. I would just like to say I can only speak from personal experience, and as you have heard, I have quite a lot of personal experience with this, and my cousin loves his child, and before he was injured, he spent as much time as he could with his little girl. All of the time, he would be with his little girl. He would do like landscaping jobs on the weekend, and he would actually take her with him when they couldn't get a sitter, and she would like ride on the lawnmower with him, like a little Carhartt hat. Like, she was a daddy's girl. He doesn't see his daughter anymore, except on birthdays and holidays, because of this addiction. So if you think for a fucking second that he would have just wanted to fucking take Oxy instead of hang out with his little girl and be a father, I think you're very wrong. We'll say that. I think you are incorrect for believing that.
Are there any other questions for the gentle lady?
I have a question, but not for the gentle lady.
Okay, well,
I wanted to exist.
all right, seeing no questions for the gentle lady, two questions for the gentle lady. They're lining up, okay. The gentleman.
So naturally, I don't know anything about your cousin, and I honestly believe everything you say about him. I'm wondering if his story means that there are no fuck-ups. Would you say that they don't exist?
At all. I'm not going to tell you that not a single person on this planet or in this nation is going to make a bad decision. I'm not going to say that there aren't people out there that are just going to do the wrong thing.
Okay.
But the majority of them, I believe, and I have witnessed as someone who grew up in poverty and currently lives in poverty, the majority of poor people just want to fucking live their lives and raise their kids and eat good food. That's literally all they want.
Seeing another question for the gentle lady here.
Yeah, I guess kind of picking nits to some extent in terms of the aspect of welfare being portrayed in a certain way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess, well, how does the gentle lady figure that this would not be eventually bastardized, portrayed in the same way by the same Lee Atwaters and what have you? I mean, yes, it's nice in theory to say like, oh yeah, like it would be, it's not welfare, but I just don't see how the people that would be against such basic income would not portray it in the same way. How do you?
When I think that the vast majority of Americans would be receiving universal basic income. So I think everyone, unless maybe like that 1% that sort of maybe might opt out or something, you would have the option to opt out. But other than that, I think that if everybody's got it, there's no reason to be embarrassed about it or feel shame about it.
True. I mean, I guess I would look at it in the same way as like the recent tax cut. Everybody's second getting a tax cut, but there's still polarization in terms of like public opinion on.
I think that's a complicated thing. Tax cuts are a little more complicated because I think people misunderstand, and like there are people who are like, oh, I hate the small business, but it's like actually more about society at large. And I don't know if we can compare taxes, but I do think that sure, I think for a few generations there would be people who are resistant to getting a government handout, but I think that once we all received this basic thing, that it wouldn't be stigmatized in any way. Like public school, you know? Like I'm sure in Great Britain, you know, going to school was a very posh thing in the early 19th century. Now we have public school, and public school is just where everybody goes.
But I would posit the same people that would probably be against against this are the same people who advocate against public schools and
Right.
seek vouchers and what have you.
And again, I would say that that's a very small percentage, and that exists in very specific parts of our nation. For example, in the South, most people are very pro public schools because they no way they could possibly afford private school. There's a small percentage that can afford private school.
But
okay, there's a couple of other questions that I want to get to for the gentlelady, but I'd like to thank the gentleman, and if he has a speech in mind, we would like for him to make a speech. Okay, so one question for the gentlelady here.
One question. Okay, so it was your cousin. Okay, so there is obviously a group of people in this country and around the world that believe that life is a zero-sum game, and they do not believe that they are their brother's keeper. That's fine. And they believe that if you are to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you get that position in life, you deserve that position in life. But if you're not able to do that, you deserve what you get. This is what I want to, I'm mining for this appellation. What would your family members say to those people? What do you guys have to offer those types of people to get them to participate in a program that, in my opinion, I think it should be something that is a government-funded community for people that have the issues that he had, where he can go and get better and work in that community and make it better. What would you say you guys have to offer, or anybody in that position you have to offer those people?
I'm not sure I totally understand. Which people are you saying that we would have to offer?
The people that don't believe that they should be their brother's keeper.
Oh, okay. So like, why should they help?
What do they get out of it, basically?
Yeah, what do they get out of it? My cousin has had multiple DUIs. He's been in several auto accidents, and he's almost killed a couple people. So the people that are very wealthy in his community that might say he's just lazy and why should I help him, it could save their life or their child's life or their family's life. Also, the idea that, sorry. Oh, my bad. I thought you were gonna say, just the idea that you're not your brother's keeper, etc. Like, I mean, we say that, but like as a society, it benefits us all for all of us to be healthy and for all of us to be like well-fed and strong. There's really nothing, I don't think there's really anything.
When you can afford a city, like when you can buy an actual, we're talking about billionaires. This isn't an attack. This is just like from the common man to these people, these interesting people. What would we have to offer them to get them to participate in these programs that we're talking about? Like, what could we actually offer? Because some people, they're just not going to do it.
Okay, and so yes, the final point of clarification from the gentlelady here.
What would we have to offer them? Like, what's the bottom line? I think it would be tailored to the individual. It would be tailored to the individual billionaire, if you will. For example, if it was a billionaire that lived in Hendersonville, North Carolina, I would bring that up to them. Like, he's a danger to the public. And putting him in prison isn't gonna help, because he's just gonna get out and keep doing the same thing. It's happened. There's a pattern of behavior there. So if you wanna make your community better, you should help this young man. To the billionaire living in, I don't know, West Hollywood, you know, homelessness is a huge issue in LA, and wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to worry about the homeless every single night? Every day when we walk down the street, if we didn't have to think about that. That's about all I got for the billionaire in West LA. I don't know, I'm not from here, so I don't know.
All right, I would like to thank the gentlelady for her maiden speech in Florida Young Futures Union. I'll get you, you've got a medallion. All right, for a speech in the negative, I have the gentleman from Metropolis for his third speech on the floor of the Yale Futures Union.
Ready?
Dude, this guy loves speaking.
All right. All right, everybody. So I want to see a show of hands. Does anyone else find this proposition condescending at all? Let me explain. The proposition is automation is coming jobs are disappearing, what are we gonna do about it? So the solution is not to re-educate people, the solution is not to train people, the solution is not to help explore and expand new industries where people can be put into new jobs, it's to basically throw money at the problem. When I first read this topic, it struck me as the response you do when grandma's getting too old. Grandma's not useful anymore, let's put her in a home, put her with some small income to play bingo, and let her live out the rest of the days. This is essentially, to me, what universal basic income sounds like. People who we admit, because of automation, aren't going to be employed, aren't able to, in some view, contribute to the economy anymore. We give them a check every month, and they're essentially, their jobs are disappeared, and they're set to pasture. And that seems fundamentally problematic, not just for the indignity of being told that you can't participate in the economy anymore, and automation is this grave monster that's just going to eliminate your utility to society. And I think that's going to have severe consequences. Let's start first off with people who are just starting to enter the workforce. I'm imagining youths who are leaving high school, who are being told that you don't have the skills that a machine cannot do, that from the very first day you step out the door, you are not going to be a productive member on this new age economy. And I think you're going to have lots of young people with a ton of free time on their hands who are very angry and see no means of improving their economic status. And that seems incredibly dangerous. That seems like exactly the type of ground where you'd see a spike in criminal activity, where you'd see a spike in radical, more violent reactions, people who are disenfranchised and who have essentially no ability to change where they are anymore. And I want to talk about this as distinction to, we've kind of conflated the terms with welfare and receipts of that. What we're talking about is different from welfare. People talk about welfare as a temporary means, ideally, when you're switching to a new job, when there's a new job you can get. We are talking about jobs that are disappearing from automation. You will have a permanent welfare class, essentially, a permanent class that is told you will only be living off of government subsidies, off government donations. That is a very dangerous and difficult situation, and is going to be institutionalized social stratification. I think the speaker had one number that said 47% of jobs potentially are going to be replaced by automation, which means you're telling me you're having 47% of the country become an institutionalized underclass with, again, no real means of joining the other part that is considered constructive or useful for the economy. And that to me just seems to be incredibly dangerous from a political standpoint, from a safety standpoint, and just as a matter of personal dignity, to be told that half the country is not worth enough or not useful enough to participate in the nation's economy. And so I think that as we talk a lot about helping people, I wonder if it really does, because essentially you are trying to make people in a permanent system, and you may call it freedom. You may say that you now have a sufficient income and you can explore art, you can explore other things. I'm sure there are people who will. I'm sure there are people who, given the freedom, will do those things. I also believe that there is a huge number of people who will not, who will take this as an opportunity to come up with criminal undertakings, who will come up with other more malicious means of doing so. And I think you can look at, and I think of Southside Chicago in particular as one example. Because every summer when children are out of school, they have no responsibility, they have no place specifically to go, they don't feel that they are part of a system, crime rates routinely surge and skyrocket. And I think you're seeing the same phenomenon on a national scale if you try and institute this permanent class of people who rely only upon government subsidies. So I ask the audience, when you're considering this proposition, what do you actually want? Do you actually want universal basic income? Or do you really want universal basic education, a universal basic right to participate in a national economy, an opportunity to be a part of what should be a productive, constructive economy that serves everyone, that we can all contribute to, that we can all benefit from, rather than having half this country merely as hangers-on at the largesse of an institutionalized wealthy few. Thanks very much.
Will the gentleman yield to questions? Okay. No, he's my husband. He has to yield to my question. So the gentleman may be familiar, because I made him read the article, with the University of Chicago's research paper that came out this week about the Alaskan Permanent Fund, which is otherwise known as Universal Basic Income in America, that demonstrated that Alaskans didn't, that there wasn't an associated rate of unemployment amongst Alaskans who received their fund from the Alaskan Permanent Fund. That just by receiving it, it did not correlate with them not working. That they still sought work upon receipt of this. Does the gentleman think, and people are using this as, of course, a parallel to this broader conversation of universal basic income and its effect on automation. Does the gentleman think that the Alaskan experiment is on par with what we're talking about here with making this experiment nationwide because of automation?
So again, I want to distinguish, I think, one of the differences we have in this proposition. We're not talking about people receiving welfare or basic income in between jobs to attract them to certain states where they can apply for other jobs. The premise of this proposition is automation is going to eliminate jobs, and that's the distinction. We're not attracting people to Alaska to take jobs in environments or states that people don't want to go to. The hypothetical we're talking about here is that automation has completely eliminated industries. I mean, we're talking about people who do not have any employment to seek because whatever their practice is, whatever the trade is gone. And that's why I think of the permanent distinction between someone who is in between jobs and seeks welfare and someone who is being told from the day they're out of high school, you will permanently be on welfare for the rest of your life, and machines have completely eliminated your ability to be a constructive, participating member of society, and we have not prepared you to be a contributing member of that economy.
Are there any other questions for the gentleman? Oh, the gentleman from Build the Floor is coming to the microphone.
Is there any way the gentleman might consider the idea that when people have their basic needs met with universal basic income, that they would then be able to go do anything, rather than be seen as doing nothing? This basic ability to cover their basic needs would give them the opportunity to go build the things that are meaningful, whether they were more paid or to participate in the labor economy, to create the kinds of things that you're talking about, and to let the machines do the labor and not be considered unable to do not to be considered to do nothing, but to be considered to be able to go do anything now that we've taken away so much toil and labor from so many people's lives.
Let me clarify. I absolutely think that what we would ideally have is people who are displaced by automation. We find some way to educate these people, to train these people, to make it so they can change industries, to join in whatever the new industry is. My problem with this proposition is it essentially seems that we just throw our hands up, we make no effort to actually train them or educate them, and we just throw money at the problem. And to me, that seems extremely simplistic, and it seems that we are essentially tossing them a check and telling them to fend for themselves and giving no other means of helping them be participants if they so desire. And I hope that people do desire to do so. And I think Zenka had mentioned some other ideas. Free universities was one example that she was giving. And that's the type of mentality, that's the type of logic I think we need to be discussing that's more fruitful than how much a universal basic income check should be. How do we actually take steps to make sure they are able to participate? How do we take steps to give them the opportunity to do so? Because unfortunately, I think just throwing a check at someone and telling them, go pursue whatever you like, is not the most meaningful way. It to me seems the political equivalent of throwing our hands up and taking the simplest solution possible, rather than really critically thinking about the best way to integrate these recently disenfranchised and unemployed individuals.
Yes, a gentleman, or a question from the gentleman from the Martian discotheque.
So a lot of this discussion about meaning brings me to one of the greatest obstacles, I think, to basic income is the cultural idea of work as the only source of meaning. Now, the Puritan ethic in this society runs very, very deep. It's in everything we think about of gender, of men and women, of work. And the Puritan ethic is very closely deals with work as duty. It, in fact, connects work with God and work with good. And I think I'm hearing a lot in your speech about the idea that someone's life doesn't have meaning if they don't have work. And I just fundamentally disagree with that. The work that I do, I'm a carpenter. I build things with my hands, and then I see them, and it's great, and I feel good about it, but I've done it not for money as well. I've volunteered in Puerto Rico building houses after the storm. And I felt great about doing that. I was not getting paid. That's what I would be doing a lot of my time if I was getting paid automatically, because that's one of the desires I have. I find meaning in my work by building things, but it's not very connected to the money I get from it. It's something that I would do because I find mastery in it, I find pleasure in it, I find pleasure in building because I'm good at it, and it makes me feel good about being good at something. But it's not necessarily something I do only because I get money.
Well, let me throw a fair point. Let me throw the question back to the speakers asking the question. What do you do in a world where machines can build houses, can build carpentry, can build anything, basically with far greater precision, perhaps things that you and I could never build with our own two hands, because machines have the ability to print and design and shape and carve in ways no one could. That's the type of people I'm talking about, people who do take pride in their work, and I hope they do, whose industries are completely eliminated, who will never again be able to produce because there'll be no demand for it because machines can do it better. That's the people who I'm talking about who, because of automation, are left with no choice but to choose an industry different from the one they may have initially chosen, the one they love, but by technology are forced out. And so I would pose to the gentleman, what would you do in the event that machines made carpentry so cheap, so easy, so efficient, more than a human could do, and his industry changed 100%?
So that's an interesting question, because the answer is stick around. I just stick around. And that's the real question I want to ask, is that are you so enamored with the idea that work is the only thing that gives you meaning that you don't think a person's life has meaning if they just enjoy it? Like, if carpentry was so effectively done by a robot that I couldn't do it for the good of anybody, like, if there was a robot that magically after the hurricane had rebuilt all of Puerto Rico, I would just sit at home with my friends, having orgies and playing video games. Like, what, like, but my life still has meaning. I'm just here. I don't have to work in order to give myself meaning, is what I'm saying, is that I don't think that it's bad that people might not have work.
On a point of personal privilege, the gentleman may not know from this gentleman's appearance, but he was raised by Japanese American parents. So, yeah, he is definitely raised with the idea that work is the only thing that matters.
Thank you for that vaguely racist
It's true.
How dare you? How dare you? No, but in all seriousness, I do think that fundamentally, even if we're given complete freedom to do nothing but play video games and have orgies, as wonderful as that sounds, I'm willing to bet if that really occurred, people would get bored of it. And I say that with absolute sincerity, that there would be a time when we enjoy it, and there'd be a time, I think a short period, maybe a longer period for others. But I think fundamentally, if we are just left to a life of complete leisure without any purposeful design or ability to create, ability to do something for others, let me take a step back. I'm just going to guess, and I don't know the gentleman's view on it, but there is a certain pride in labor, there is a certain pleasure in creating something that someone has asked for, to create something as simple as a chair with great craftsmanship and great care. And to know that another person who's receiving it can get great use out of it, that the person receiving it, maybe not even in financial means. You use the example of someone who survived a hurricane. I mean, they will appreciate it, maybe not financially, but I think there is a payoff of a pride, a dignity of being able to say that I personally have a trade, that I can create something, I can do something that made another fellow human happier, that made their life easier, that made their life better. And I think when all the orgies and the video games are over, I would imagine the gentleman would return and find some other, call it work, call it craft, call it whatever you like. But I think there is always going to be a human desire to create, to design, and to build things to help others, and to think there's a better purpose in that than even the greatest orgy that he has attended.
I agree. But
And with that, seeing the lateness of the hour, the gentleman from Metropolis is thanked.
Thank you.
Again, seeing the lateness of the hour, do I have one speech in, I believe it's the affirmative. I hear a Danny.
She's gonna go next time.
Okay, all right. So, seeing the lateness of the hour, is there a motion from the floor?
Yeah, move on the resolution or something.
Do you move the previous question?
The previous question.
The gentleman moves the previous question, which means we vote. And there's only a few people left here, so we're going to see how this goes. So, the resolution before the body is resolved. Universal basic income is the solution to automation. All those in favor of the resolution, please raise your hand. Three. All those opposed? And the nays clearly have it. The resolution fails. All right, so we would like to thank Angel City Brewery for hosting us today and all of our last Sundays of the month. And we still got a little bit where you can get your last drinks from the bar there. What?
Well, we brought a gift for Larry for preparing such an awesome presentation. It's a 3D TV memo pad. You can put secret glasses on.
Oh, wow.
And a bottle of wine if you don't drink.
Well,
You're gonna have to give it away.
Well, I will make sure it gets used.
Okay. Larry, we truly appreciate you having your expertise here tonight.
All right, and also wanted to remind everyone that next month we will be debating resolved mind control is good for you. August, I think, left the building, but he will be playing the role of floor leader, I think. I might not be here. No, dude, I'm expecting a baby by adoption like any time now, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this with a baby strapped to my chest. My husband and I are adopting from foster care, and we're expecting a newborn like any day. So I don't think this is gonna work with a baby strapped to my chest, so he might be doing the floor leading activity then. So might see ya, might not. We'll see.
Okay. We'll work it out for next month. It's going to be really amazing. We're looking for a counter speaker, so keep that in mind. And we want to get your feedback for this event. So if you have any suggestions, let us know. And we'll be sending out some sort of surveys to the people that came tonight. So thanks again for coming. We really appreciate it, and we are excited to grow this community to talk about the future. And all
All right, and with that, this session of Yale Futurist Union is adjourned. I forgot the word.
When it's a newborn, he's like in his car. So it's like,
Yeah.
It's like, what is a newborn? Service.
Wow, he is really awkward. He's so funny. He's like, hey, can you come outside? I'm like, just teleport. And then I was like, go to the building. He's like, cool. I'm right. I'm like, this is so weird. This is like,
Oh my god, so you also link to my big
But you got to advocate adopted multiple times when it's something
it's in the future, climate change is something
and
I would buy a warehouse and like freeze, and then like
it's really absurd.
if it wasn't.